Let's let's see if your kind can outrun my dogs. That's what Officer Darren Colt spat out at me that morning, his lips curling as he loosened the leash. Two German Shepherd's teeth bared grumbled so low the ground seemed to vibrate. I had just laced up my sneakers for a simple morning jog, nothing more, and somehow Greenwood Trail turned into a battleground. The air had been soft mist, still clinging to the grass birds starting their chatter, like they did every dawn. And then came his voice slicing through it, dragging me right back into the ugliness I thought I'd left behind. Running was the only time I felt invisible, the only time the stares and whispers in this small town didn't cling to me. I wasn't Alicia from down the block, the woman who didn't belong at the grocery store or the diner. I was just another runner hoodie, pulled tight sneakers, tapping out a rhythm that made sense when nothing else did. But as soon as I rounded that curve and saw him standing there, broad shoulders, badge glinting, two canines pacing with hunger, I knew the rhythm was about to break. I tried to keep my voice light casual. Morning, he didn't move. He didn't even blink. You lost. I shook my head, kept my pace steady. Just running. Funny, he said, tugging the leashes tight so the dog snapped to attention. Don't recall this park being open to your kind. Those words. I'd heard them whispered before, muttered under breath in checkout lines, written between the lines of HOA emails about neighborhood safety. But standing there with those dogs, snarling, it wasn't just prejudice, it was a threat. I straightened my back, tried to sound stronger than I felt. It's a public park. Public doesn't mean everyone. He smirked, leaning forward, letting an inch of slack run through his fist, so the metal rings jingled like a starting gun. The smart thing would have been to turn around, go home, let him have that moment. But I couldn't, not again. If I turned back now, I'd be carrying his shadow with me every time I laced up my shoes. So I stepped to the side, lifted my chin, and said, I'm finishing my run. For a second, he let me pass, that smug grin painted across his face like he was letting me win a game I hadn't agreed to play. But when I heard the crunch of his boots behind me matching my pace, I knew he wasn't done. He was hunting me. Every turn, every bridge, every fork in the path, I felt him. He cut across the service road, reappeared ahead of me, with those dogs bristling at his side. It was like he knew this park better than anyone, like he'd studied its shortcuts just for moments like this. Still lost, he asked, voice soft, dangerous. I told him again, control your dogs. They are controlled, he said, eyes gleaming. You're the variable. And then he laid it out like it was some kind of ritual. You drop to your knees, we call it a lesson. You argue, we call it a warning. You try to leave, we call it a test. A test. That's what he called unleashing dogs on a woman running through a public park at sunrise. Somewhere behind me, a couple pushing a stroller slowed down, saw us, and he plastered on the neighborly smile. Morning, just training the dogs. They nodded, reassured, and hurried off. The second they vanished, his mask fell, and the monster was back. You've got a choice, he said. Make the smart one. I wet my lips, felt the weight of the Glock at my hip, a weapon I prayed I'd never need to use. I didn't pull it, didn't even touch it. But he saw the flicker in my eyes and grin. Public doesn't mean safe. Out here, cameras don't always work. People see what they want to see. And then he whispered Rex. The bigger shepherd's body coiled like a spring. Duke, the other one, dropped lower, ready to pounce. I heard the word leave my throat before I even decided to speak. Don't. This time it wasn't begging. It was a line. Teacher, he breathed. The dogs lunged. Rex hit me first, jaws slamming into my forearm, teeth piercing flesh so sharp it felt like fire under my skin. My knees buckled, but I forced myself low, steady, refusing to go down. Blood poured fast and hot, my sleeve shredded. Duke barreled toward my hip, and I twisted just in time, shoving my shoulder into his chest, so he snapped at air instead of flesh. Hold her, Colt barked, his voice cracking with a sick kind of joy. Stop, leave her alone, a boy's voice cut through the chaos, high cracking, desperate. I turned my head just enough to see a teenager on a bike phone, shaking in his hands, recording everything. And that was when something inside me shifted. He thought this was fear. He thought this was the end of me. But fear burned into fuel and I drove my knee hard into Rex's chest. Not enough to hurt him, just enough to break his grip. My arm came free, blood soaking my hoodie, but I wasn't done. I spun, scooped up a thick branch I'd spotted earlier, and shoved it between us. Back, I roared, voice carrying a weight I didn't know I had. For a split second, Duke actually froze. The cadence of command, something drilled into them, made them hesitate. Colt snarled, snapping the leash. Don't listen to her, I own you. But his grip faltered, his control fractured. And then another voice thundered from down the path. What the hell is going on here? A tall man strode into view, his own German shepherd pulling against the leash. Darren Cole, former canine handler. He took one look at my bleeding arm and Colt's twisted grin and knew exactly what this was. You call that training, he barked. Colt tried to wave him off. Police business. This is assault, Darren shot back, stepping closer, his dog bristling at his heel. The boy lifted his phone higher. I got it all. Everyone's gonna see. For the first time, I saw fear flash in Colt's eyes. Just a crack, but it was there. That's when I knew it. I wasn't the hunted anymore. He was. We went straight to the station, me clutching Darren's jacket around my wound, the boy holding his phone like it was the last piece of truth left in town. Inside the desk, Sergeant looked at us like we'd brought a storm through the door. Darren slammed his hand down. Royce Colt set his dogs on her. And we've got a witness. What followed felt like another battle just without teeth. Papers, pens, cameras blinking red in interview rooms. Officers shifting uncomfortably when Colt barged in, bandaged hand, fresh uniform, trying to spin the story. She threatened me. She swung a weapon at my dogs. That's not true, the boy shouted, his voice shaking but strong. She never did. Every lie Colt told the video cut down. Every sneer, every threat, every leash he loosened, the boy had it all. Darren kept reminding them. We've already sent copies out. Civil rights groups. Press. This won't vanish. Still Colt smirked like he owned the room, like his badge was stronger than truth. At one point, he even lunged for the boy's phone, and I threw myself between them, bleeding arm and all. You don't touch him. You don't touch anyone. The station swelled with voices, tension rising like smoke. The chief stormed in silver hair, red face trying to clamp a lid on the fire. Internal Affairs was called. They took my statement, wrote every word, though I could see in their eyes the urge to smooth it out, make it neater, safer, less damning. But I didn't let them. I told it exactly as it happened. The crunch of his boots behind me, the sound of those leashes, the snap of teeth on my skin. I refused to be rewritten. Hours later, I was on a gurney in the hospital stitches, tugging at my arm, Darren pacing the boy, still holding his phone like a torch. News alerts were already pinging. The video had leaked, spreading faster than Colt could cover it. Comments poured in, some outrage, some ugly, calling me names, saying I provoked it. I looked at that screen and handed it back calmly. Let them talk. The truth is louder. But when the EMTs closed the ambulance doors earlier, I caught one last glimpse of him. Colt stood just beyond the reach of the flashing lights, his face twisted into a grin that wasn't a smile. This isn't over, he called, not even close. And I knew he meant it. Men like him never walk away quietly. So here I am, scar on my arm, fire in my chest, still running, not from him, but towards something bigger. Toward the fight he accidentally unleashed when he set those dogs on me. Because the leash he thought could control me, the fear he thought could break me, that's what broke him instead. And maybe that's the question for you watching this, thinking about your own town, your own neighbors, the uniforms you have trusted or feared. What do you think happens next? Do you believe truth can win when a badge stands in the way? Or have you seen moments where the system twisted a story until the victim disappeared? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think justice is coming for Darren Colt, or if men like him always find another leash to hold. And don't forget to subscribe because this question of who really owns the morning isn't over. Not even close.